Well, hey, Superior Shave fans and other humans, how you doing today? It's what is this? 11 of January to 4. That's quite a long time since June 25th, 2023, which is the day of my beloved house fire. I'm going to yap about State Farm and hone this razor for Mr. L from Sylacauga, Alabama. Okay. I don't know where that is. I wonder if it's down there near the Gulf. They certainly have some really good shrimp down there, don't they? This is a lovely box that was used. Excellent packaging. I hone for hire like this more than 50, less than 100 times a year. And people are always spending. They're so spendy at the post office. This guy dropped 10 bucks, 10.2. I'm certainly not going to spend that much on the way back, and I don't know why people always spend that like that. Yeah, there it is, a little thing for his name. Anyway, you can certainly protect a straight razor in the mail and make it a 4-ounce parcel pretty reliably. You could use a paper towel tube and then put some bubble wrap around that and some paper towel tube, bubble wrap, and wrap around the paper towel tube. Basically, if you can't chuck it across the room, it's not ready for U.S. Postal Service to have it. I do ask when people have razors that they're questionable about to send me some pictures so that I could see whether or not the razor is appropriate for me to hone. This one is covered in Vaseline. All right, no problem there. I'll take that off. Ooh, it looked really good in the pictures. This is a lot of Vaseline. I could use this. Wish I could extract it and use it for something. Okie dokie. And yeah, I wanted to show you the razor first, but I got to get this thing so that I can hold it without dropping it. And what happened here? Is there like a film on this thing? No, I guess that's like what they called cracked ice. They used to call this kind of scale cracked ice. Let's see if I can give you. Ooh, isn't that nice? So I will guesstimate that this is. What does it say on here? Oh man, I am blind as a bat with the contact lenses in. Heat heart ring. Heart ring? This is clearly a German-made razor. Hey, well, would you look at that? Have I seen this razor before? I don't think I've seen this razor before. I don't recall this razor, but someone has honed this razor with convex hones, and it looks like the marks that I would make. Yeah, somebody did. I could see those marks on there. You see those? You see that mark right there? That will only come from a convex stone. And look, on the concavity down here. I would like to know how this guy came about to get this razor. I'm going to need some more paper towels, just a second. It is a razor new to me. So when a razor is new to me, not when we're talking honing a brand new razor. So when you sell a brand new razor, people are expecting none of those marks that come from honing the razor without tape on the razor. They don't understand that to the grinders, tape is absolutely forbidden, and that the razor should always touch on both sides, the scale and the edge on the spine. Anytime the edge is being addressed, it has to touch the abrasive on both sides. But a lot of people want their spines to be pristine, and they expect that from a new razor. Now, when they go to hone the razor at the factory, not Sears Sard, but the Germans generally, if the razor can be polished after it's honed to take away any normal marks, if they can do that without affecting the decor on the show side and on the spine, they do. They take it to a cotton cloth that has a really fine polishing paste, and they just remove the marks that would otherwise be there. The French are like, you know what? Those marks are part of it, so you take those marks and take it or leave it. And I love that about the French. Yeah, the French are cool. Like when in the 1950s, the Scottish whiskey industry completely changed. This razor sounds fantastic, man. Listen to this thing. A little train going here. The Scottish whiskey industry completely changed the way that they make their whiskey for the American market, because the American market couldn't make their highballs without getting the liquor all cloudy. And so the Scottish whiskey industry came up with the chill filtration. And around the same time, they asked the French to do that with their brandy. And the French were like, no, it gets cloudy when you put ice in it. Sorry. That's the way the brandy is. Take it or leave it. I love that response. That's exactly the response I would make. Okay, I'm going to take a look here. H. Eicher and Sohn, Sohne. Solingen-W, it says on the back. This is probably a younger razor than I first suspected, because it looks like there might be a laser engraving here. Let me see if that's a laser engraving. No, that's an old-fashioned engraving. Okay, so I stand with there's a little arrow and it says made in, and then whatever was on there is covered by the tang. Okay, and on the show side, heart ring and a bunch of hearts and the number 152. I would swear I've never seen this thing before, but it has all the hallmarks of me touching it. So must be somebody who quietly out there in cyberspace is thinking along the same lines as I am and used something. I don't know. I've been in business a long time. I certainly could have touched it and forgot. It's not like I keep a journal of all these razors. But anyway, this is a lovely thing. Now I'm going to take a look at it to see if I see any pitting. It's got a lot of marks from wheels. It looks like at the very tip of the toe, there's a little dent, but we can fix that. This razor is widest about 7 millimeters away from where the stabilizer is, and then that last 7 millimeters it gets narrower. I would not do that, so somebody has done what the Dr. Matt says and bread knife the heel of this razor. You know, this razor is a beautifully ground razor, and yeah, like after World War II, before 1970s probably, if I had to guess, but it has the oxidized tang. Anyway, it was obviously wider at this point than the rest of the razor, which is common for all German razors. And somebody corrected it, but it looks like you can see it better on the show side. Where's that? Okay, the last little right there. Yeah, it's not going to focus, but the last little millimeter gets wider for a split second, like it would be a heel hook. But the whole first 7 millimeters of the heel is, I mean, I would just say don't use any of that area and consider the widest point of the razor right here to be the starting point of the razor. That's a lot healthier than sitting there and chasing that, but we can just melt it off real quick. Anyway, I'm going to use this. This is a Norton #1 Washita, 2 by 4 inches, and it's remarkably fast. Remarkably fast. And it's smooth too. I have flattened this side with my surface plate, and I've shaped this side to be the, let's see here, can you see that? Sure, you can see that. You can see that little gap there. You see that gap? It is 6.5 feet this way and 25 feet going across. Let's get some ballistol oil and we'll start honing. Okay. For this part, I can hone in space. And I'm going to stay on there until I've taken over those marks. This is going to take at least 10 minutes, so I suppose this is the part where I should opine upon the clickbait title about State Farm Insurance and my home. What am I doing right now? I'm using this wonderful, very best bevel setter in the world, I believe. This is the Pike #1 Washita, and it is shaped to a 6.5-foot wheel form. I am overtaking the bevel that's there because although it looks like someone has been honing with convex stones on there, I don't know what diameter they were using or anything like that. I don't know the shape of that bevel that's there. I need to be sure of that before we move on. The house, the house, the house. Where are we at with the damn house? Well, my wife and I decided not to use the contractor that he, by the rules, gets to assign to your claim to make an estimate from which you either take that person and do the work with them, or that is going to be the Bible that's used to challenge anybody else, any other contractor you would find. We met his guy 3 days after the fire. His guy also has the local franchise for the cleanup company, Service Master. His guy had wonderful bedside manner with people who were just in a fire. And I think that's why, along with his very low prices, he gets the most favored nation status from the State Farm dude. So his guy made an estimate, and we were going to use that. And in the meantime, he was doing the clean out after all the possessions were taken out of the home. His team, under his Service Master franchise, was to gut the house of all the smoke-destroyed walls and plaster and ceiling and all that. Break it down to the slab and the roof and the frame, and there's nothing else in the house. And he did a perfectly fine job with that work. However, the house was condemned by the city of Jacksonville the day after the fire, and they have their big old sign on your front door that says condemned, no shall enter without access pass, so on and so forth. He is an experienced contractor and knows damn well what the rules were, but just decided, I don't need to worry about them rules. Let me just do this demo work and get out of here. I don't want to get to go downtown and fill out a form and wait in the line. And little did he know, somebody from that city of Jacksonville department lives in my neighborhood. And that person is a superior at the city of Jacksonville department that deals with this. They saw people working on that house. He must know who gets a permit and who doesn't. Not a permit, they call it an access pass. Doesn't really matter what they call it. And so he had his little policeman come and stop the work because they didn't get the permission slip that they needed from the city of Jacksonville. And my wife and I got a very, what the contractors call a threadogram. We'll demolish your house, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's a bunch of city bureaucracy, but nonetheless, they do call the shots. And once we got that threadogram from the city, we no longer trusted anything that State Farm's guy's contractor told us. And so we wanted to use somebody else. So we started asking for contractors. And the problem is that all of the contractors are in high demand. And as soon as they hear the name of the person that's assigned to your case, Mr. Stephen Evans, most of them will be saying, nope, not dealing with that bullshit right away, just on the name of the guy. I feel really bad for contractor number 2 because he jumped through so many hoops for Mr. Stephen Evans. He really did a lot. But no matter what you ask for, Stephen Evans will always come back to you and say, that's great, but I need this. And he's just going to do this over and over again, in my opinion. This is just an opinion part. Because you decided not to use his contractor anymore. And why does he want you to use his contractor? Well, you can figure that part out for yourself. I'm going to put some oil on the bottom of this thing because I need to try to bread knife that corner there. Oh, heavens to Betsy, if I drop this oily thing. It is so hard to find this rock. Wasn't any fun to shape it, but really hard to find. If that thing dropped, I would become Lionel Messi with my foot, and my foot would catch it eloquently. By pure instinct of the foot knowing just how incredibly difficult it is to source that object. As a matter of fact, shortly after I shaped my 3x10-inch Arkansas stone, I was moving it around, not honing. I don't hone in the hand on that big old thing, but I may need to move it from the sink, whatever, something like that, in this office approximately 4 years ago. And it slipped from my hand and started falling toward the ground. If that thing broke, I would cry on the ground like I lost a child. And so my foot just stuck out, and I hacky sacked that rock, and a corner of that rock landed coming in toward my ankle on my right foot. There is a stone corner shaped mark, a not small mark, like as big as 2 dice, on my right foot near my ankle. And that's like my tattoo forever, to have to save that incredible stone. Look how much slurry is coming off of there. Do you see that blackness? Good Lord. This thing is a miracle worker. Anyway, where was I? I finally found a contractor, because of my attorney, that specializes in dealing with State Farm and other insurance companies. And they made an estimate exactly the way the State Farm guy wants. But what does the State Farm guy do? He comes back and says, hey, I need you to break that estimate down penny by penny, line item by line item, into how much it costs to make the house exactly the way it was, and what are things that are required of today's building code. According to this guy, normally when everybody's friends and the dollar amount at the end isn't changing, the insurance company just authorizes the whole estimate to get the ball rolling with permits and nails and so forth. And then they figure that part out later. But this time, because we're off of State Farm's contractor of choice, State Farm guy will not do that, and saying, I need to have that little breakdown of taxonomy before I can give you final approval, which is not done all the time. But as long as they do it to one other poor soul, they're going to feign like they're not treating you differently than anybody else. What's really going on is, it would be fair to say, they're not treating you differently than anybody who got off of their contractor of choice. And in our case, we didn't get a list of contractors to choose from. Normally, on a smaller claim, they'll send you a mail that says, hey, here's a list of State Farm approved contractors. You could use any of them, and we guarantee the work 5 years. As long as you pick one of those names, their guy is getting their commission, and everything's going to be smooth sailing. In our case, we didn't get a list of 5 names. We got 1 name. Use the guy that got the ticket from the city, or go fuck yourself. I don't want to use him because I don't trust him. So here we are. The contractor that's used to dealing with State Farm has to jump through a lot of hoops with a lot of other subcontractors to get the needless, completely pointless taxonomy, which State Farm guy is pretending is required. Unfortunately, the lawyer, speaking this language of bullshit, actually believes the State Farm guy is being earnest, and I told the lawyer, I promise you we're going to do this, and he's going to come back yet again. This is what I told the lawyer months ago. No matter what you say, unless you choose back his contractor of choice, everything that you bring to his attention, he's going to say, that's great, but to get final approval, I need this. And he'll sit there and taxonomize and come up with an elegant way to say, I'm stalling your ass until you either just accept the low check I gave you and build, you can try to sue me for the rest, or use my contractor of choice. So right now I'm dealing with the fact that the contractor that we have on the job, either he can't get the subs to all do this thing the dude wants, or he's just putting it on the back burner. Because how do they know they're going to get the job? They haven't actually got anything except $300 to make an estimate. And they're sitting there jumping through all these hoops for State Farm, and all of his subs are getting nothing to sit there and taxonomize it that way. That's the problem. Every single contractor, once they hear these little hoops that State Farm wants, will be like, why should I jump through all those hoops before I know if I've made a penny? And thus, do you really have the choice of which contractor you use with State Farm? You don't really, because they're going to make it miserable the entire time. And I'm the policyholder. This isn't like I was the person that was hit in the car by your policyholder. I'm the fucking policyholder. So I hope this brings some attention to what you can expect from State Farm. If a tornado destroys your house, it doesn't really matter what it is. They're probably going to dick you around like this if you don't choose their contractor. I would hate to say. Woo! The bevel is much, much wider. The first 6 centimeters worth. At the toe, it could use a little bit more on the backside. On the front, yeah, we've completely overtaken the bevel on the rear of the razor. It's just the front. You got to be very careful with that. It's very easy to do too much very quickly on the toe. Yeah, the first 2 centimeters worth of razor. It is so fast. This stone is unbelievable. All you straight razor people, you need to get one of these things. Norton Lily White or Norton Washita. Probably any vintage Washita, doesn't have to be Norton or Pike, is going to act this way. They're so fine and they're so fast. The way things stand now with the house is that at some point, the contractor will get State Farm what he's asking for. And that's supposed to be, as the State Farm guy pretends, the final thing. But I'm calling it now. He's going to come up with some more bullshit because you still haven't chosen his contractor. And he's going to say, all right, what you gave me was great, but I need this. The lawyer has said, if he does that, it's time to sue. So the worst part of this whole thing is that the lawyer, who is extremely experienced in this exact kind of fight, said that there is no legal means to get a punitive judgment against State Farm. In other words, they can behave this way and they don't suffer anything financially except for if you sue and recover, they have to pay the lawyer costs just for the lawsuit part. But a lot of times people don't sue. Most of the time they don't sue. So from State Farm's perspective, if you don't care about dicking around your own policyholders, if it saves you money, they're going to do it. It's going to you add that up over thousands and thousands of claims across the United States, and it's good business. But you're trading on your name. You only get the one damn name. If more people knew this about State Farm, would I have to see a Patrick Mahomes commercial every goddamn 15 minutes when I watch an NFL football game? a minute or two more on the front, on the non-show side of the front centimeter of the razor. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's an old beater. Let me go wash this damn shit off of my hands. All right, there's washita marks all the way to the apex everywhere. The width of the bevel is not the same all over the razor, but hey, the razor is not the same width, so we're even, right? I'll be right back. Do you think that all cauticles are, okay, someone has a question. Do you think all cauticles are good finishers? No. Do you think it is a big jump from 5,000 to a cauticle without slurry? It depends on the minimum sharpening speed of the cauticle. So for me, I care most about how good the cauticle is at combining fast and fine without slurry. That is a lot more important than with slurry for me. And vivo, yes, in vivo. That's exactly what we're doing. We're in vivo. Alrighty, okay. In vivo. Here we go. I'm just making sure geometrically. This is a very nice razor. Whoever honed it and sold it to you, well, I'm sure they had their reasons. It had a little tiny bit of oxidation in the steel on the, let me go see here where it was and I'll describe to you. Yeah, there is some pitting at the finish in the near the stabilizer on the front of the razor. Let's see here. Around here, there's some pits. And one of the pits is just a couple of millimeters away from where the bevel is. As a matter of fact, it might be in the bevel at the very last of the razor, but who cares? Just don't use that first 7 millimeters of razor. Just ignore it, and it's going to be spectacular. Now at the toe, yeah, you know, I'm sure it's at least 50 years old, very conservatively, but more than that. It looks great for its age. They're never going to be perfect. It is carbon steel, you know? So choose your battles. It doesn't have to be 100% everywhere. It's a lot harder to get the razor to be thin than anything else that you're going to want from it. So me personally, I'd rather have a razor with 1 or 2 teeny tiny little chips in the steel that's crazy thin than a razor that is thicker but doesn't have any problems in the steel. That's just me. Some others might disagree with that. This is a cauticle. It's a very greasy La Gris. It makes a ton of slurry, but I use it with just a little bit of water. And I don't know if you could see there. You'll have to trust me. It's about a 20, yeah, somewhere in the 20-foot diameter range. Maybe a little bit shorter. I don't know exactly, but less than 25, more than 17. Because all the other stuff that we just did was at 6.5 feet, it will very quickly overtake that which is there and start putting marks right on the tip of the razor. And then you just want to have the tip be something, you don't even need to be able to really see it with a regular loop. But it has to be there for the last little 5–10% of the razor so that the razor can shave you and not break down. Oh, that is just glorious. Why are you moving on me? What's moving? Okay, it was the panning axis. Okay, we got that tight. That is spectacular, spectacular. The temptation would be to stay on this too long. But remember, all the work you're doing now is putting a thicker tip on the front of the razor. You are decreasing the razor's width right now. You were not doing that on the prior step if you stopped just in time. As you go to a longer diameter, you go to the front of the razor, and this cuticle being, oh, I don't know, let's say in this plain water state, somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 JIS, it will reduce the width of the razor as you're working. I'm going to angle this plate ever so slightly so that it's uphill toward this side of the view. I just want to see cuticle marks at the front. Yeah, you can see it. It's so strange. You could see the shinier, smoother, stray shuffling of the cuticle on the front of the razor, and it took over more than I wanted. I would say it's a quarter of the bevel at least, and then to the back side is the marks from the Washita, which now in comparison to the cuticle they look coarse, but they hardly feel coarse. The beloved convex Arkansas stone. These marks you could hardly see at all with the loop because the stone's so hard and the shape is longer. This is 25 feet diameter. It's only touching the very first 1% of the bevel width, if that. It doesn't matter what you can see though, because your face will know. As you may know from my own shaving, I like it when I go bending toward the off axis and trying to hold the bevel's final 0.1 mm of thickness zone against this thing. That may be something that, well, to be honest, I'm sure it creates an extremely fragile edge. I don't know anything about this guy, so I'm not going to do that for him. I'm going to try to make a little less lively but a more stable edge by skipping the bending away from the spine, from the axis of the stone part. And why do we do that? We do that because we don't have an infinite number of diameters of wheel. Look how perfectly the syrup on the stone is taken up by this razor. That is glorious. I need a little more water though. I always clean my beloved stone first. And I've learned with this little office basin, hold your stone like this and use your hands as a buffer versus the basin, because all 8 of the corners of this rock have been compromised by basin interactions. That's the beauty of working with ballistol. Uh-oh, what does this say? This little arrow, what does that mean? Nice, I seeing your excellent honing video after a long time. Thank you, Manish. I remember you. You live in India. How's it going over there? What's the weather like? I hope you don't live in a polluted part like Delhi. When I went to Delhi, I went to India once in 2004 for a wedding. It was kind of a big deal because I was the guest at the wedding that had traveled the furthest to get to the wedding. The wedding was in Kolkata. And they made kind of a big deal out of that. It was a really cool wedding. It was a huge cricket pitch, a big old football stadium slab of grass at a fancy hotel. And what was interesting about the Indian wedding is there's never one time when everybody is all focused on the bride and the groom. You're just kind of like all walking around and there's little things to see here and there. Alrighty, let me go give this a stropping, right? Second most popular, Mumbai. Yeah. Delhi weddings. Well, the wedding was, no, the wedding was in Calcutta. And then I went to Delhi afterwards because I wanted to look at Delhi and I wanted to go to the Taj, obviously. But the people at the hotel told me because of the season, it was early December, and the pollution, that you couldn't really see the Taj, so I didn't get to go to see the Taj. But I liked India, and I watch a lot of traveling videos about India, and my wife is from India, as you may know. Indian people are wonderful. Here we have, this is 25-foot diameter hickory. I actually have a really good friend. Manish, I have a really good friend that's from Lucknow, and he moved back from the United States to Lucknow to be with his aging parents who live in Lucknow. But that's not even Delhi, you know, it's far away. But the pollution was so bad in Lucknow that after a few years, even though his parents are still there, he skipped out, man, and he moved to Alabama, where his wife's parents live. But he said he couldn't raise his 2 kids in the daily pollution of Lucknow, knowing that he had the means to live somewhere else. I guess on the high plains part to the north of the peninsula, even though Mumbai is a very polluted place, you know, they're right on the ocean, so it all goes away. Well, that does sound great, doesn't it? Let's see if I can do the old arm thing. My arms are always dry. I can hear them cutting off. I can't see them because I've got my contact lenses on. But I'm going to strop it a couple more times and then put the isopropyl alcohol on, and then the ballistol. These are vintage scales. Do not let isopropyl alcohol get anywhere near them. They'll crack. Same with modern celluloid, but this handle's in good shape and it matches the razor. Thus, you want to work hard to keep it period correct and all original. I have Vaseline here, but it makes a terrible mess. I prefer just to use the oily rag with the ballistol oil. All right, Mr. What is it? BL from some city in Alabama I never heard of. You have a lovely razor. I'm sure it's going to shave you brilliantly. If you're not experienced, just rinse off the hot water for the first try rather than stropping at home. I generally believe any razor is best stropped right before it's used, even after just a couple of hours. Something to do with how thin the razor is and the way the air works around it. But if you don't know what you're doing, being as I just stropped it here, you offer a bigger downside to an improvement when the razor has not met a beard yet. After it's met a beard, probably any attempt is better than nothing. So my general advice is, if you feel competent that you can strop correctly, and it's kind of hard to do, go for it before the shave. Otherwise, just rinse off this oil that you just saw me put on. Very careful not to let the edge collide with the sink basin, the faucet tap, or the edge of the strop. What do I say? There's three things: countertop, sink basin, faucet tap. Don't let the edge bonk into any of that, or you're completely screwed. And just rinse off with hot water and go for it. Well, this was fun, guys. Don't use State Farm. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.